what's up? I'm Amin Dhillon, and welcome to my podcast. I'm sitting down with the movers and shakers and the stars to chat about life, love, business, and being a total boss. It's raw, it's candid, it's the stories behind the headlines. This is In Conversation.
Everything I do is foreign, you know what I mean? Yeah, foreign. Yeah, you see my whip, you know it's foreign. I'm so foreign. Then you see my girl, you know she foreign. I'm in Lauren. You been wearing Tommy, got that foreign. You so boring. I've been up and working, that is foreign. I'm so foreign. Yeah, you know my whip, you know it's foreign. I'm so foreign. Then you see my girl, you know she foreign. I'm in Lauren. You been wearing Tommy, got that foreign. You so boring. I've been up and working, that is foreign. I've been up and working till the morning, yeah. They been sleeping now, I swear they storming, yeah. And I swear I'm cooking like a foreman. And my foreman jumping like it's Jordan on my way. Vroom, tell him I'm my lane, I've been praying, yeah. Gotta say this thing, I'm the same. I don't need another person telling me I can't. Lately I've been going, moving right past all these lanes. I'm just sat and waited patiently, yeah. I just gave them what they can't see, yeah. I've been moving with a mission now. Why they all just wander around so aimlessly, yeah, you see my web, you know it's foreign.
I'm sitting down with Arjun. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Yo, I'm good. How are you?
Good to have you, and it's a reunion for us.
I think third time?
Third time, yeah. We were trying to figure out how many times.
Yeah.
But it's good to have you back here in Toronto. And of course, you're going to be here performing T-Dot. So I got to ask you, Toronto, special place for you?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? My very first ever international show was in Toronto. So it was in Markham or Scarborough, actually, yeah.
Okay.
In 2012, my first show out of the UK was in Toronto. So I think my
crazy.
first 3-4 shows I ever did were in Toronto.
Yeah.
I think it was like a Tamil formal and then like a Pakistani formal, like a PSA formal, and then an Indian. I think I did like 3 formals back to back. One was in like Saga, one was in Markham, and one was in Brampton, I think. Yeah.
Look at you naming all the cities.
Yeah,
You're
so,
pretty good.
I've done the full GTA experience. I mean, I've done at least like 30 shows in Toronto over the last 6-7 years. So it's like a very kind of similar vibe to London. People are very friendly in Canada, as you know, like super friendly people. So, and yeah, I mean, I think also the fact is it's very, very kind of eclectic culturally, like because of, you know, great mix of people, Chinese, Indian, you know, black, everything. Yeah. So it's a fun place. Obviously, in terms of music as well, very, very strong at the moment. Obviously, with the likes of the Biebers and the Drakes and the Weekends coming out of Canada. So, you know, there's a big, strong kind of sound here as well. So it's fun to be kind of part of that too. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so basically, as soon as you Google you, one of the things that pops up right away, which I don't know if you know this, it says you are the most viewed UK Asian artist on YouTube with over 250 million views. That's your record.
That's very old though. It's about like...
Is it more now?
450 million views. Yeah.
But I think that is a lot. So how does it feel to just know that so many people are watching you online?
Scary. No joking. You know, it's. I think I'm part of the kind of YouTube generation that's kind of been bred out of YouTube. I think I owe my career to YouTube pretty much early on, especially. I think, you know, embracing online has been the key for most artists these days. I mean, YouTube, Spotify, you know, whatever it is that you embrace. But I feel like for me, obviously, the kind of, I think Indians as well, like we're quite tied to the kind of visual side of things too. So having like a platform which has both audio and video has kind of helped me to build like a brand, you know, online as well. But yeah, so what's the question? So YouTube for me has been, I guess, like, I mean, where I began. Kept kind of using it as like a way to kind of engage with fans, not just through songs, but through other things too. But yeah, I think, you know, my main focus at the moment is to try and kind of build outside of that as well, to kind of, you know, to tour more. Obviously the last 4 or 5 years we've been doing kind of more kind of the, I guess the live side of things has taken over a bit more, and it's been less about the kind of vlogging and blogging, and more so about touring. So
But isn't it amazing how someone like you that was just, you know, in your house making covers was able to put it on YouTube and it just blew up. And next thing you know, you're this huge artist now winning awards. You're constantly touring. Like I was just looking at your schedule and I was like, my gosh, you must be so tired. Like you're living your dream. And all because you did that cover and it blew up. That's how I first heard about you.
Yeah, I think, you know what, I think it's, I mean, similar thing for a bunch of artists that I've heard. Obviously, Justin Bieber, for example, I think was found on YouTube. But
Jonita Gandhi on YouTube as well.
Even in our world as well. I think, you know, there's been a bunch of guys who've embraced that. But I think, yeah, you're right. I think it's weird to think that how low budget the videos were that I began doing. It was like literally in my bedroom wearing pajamas and just singing around. I think at that time it was just like pure joy. I was just trying to just experiment, try different things. It's kind of like learning about my own culture, about kind of being South Asian, but also being British, kind of trying to mash those two things, you know, find a sound that would work for myself, being kind of brought up in the West, but also born in the East. I think that was what kind of, I think, connected with people like myself who brought up in the West, you know, in Canada, US, UK, but obviously whose parents are watching Bollywood at home and watching all the like ZTV dramas, etc. at home. Yeah. And the friends, you know, are playing Chris Brown and Usher and Drake and whatever else. So I think, you know, having that fusion of the two kind of made sense to me. I think that's what kind of made me, I guess, unique at that point, to kind of have a, you know, a fresh sound with that. I guess there's, you know, there was from the UK, the likes of Jay Sean and Raghav back in the day kind of set that tone, began that whole kind of Punjabi fusion thing, bringing like Bhangra into hip hop and R&B, and that was quite a big inspiration for me early on. You know, having those guys, Raghav especially, who would bring like old Bollywood songs into his kind of R&B vibe. So. Yeah, I mean, that definitely was what I think helped me to kind of build a platform, build a fan base. And I guess, yeah, the touring kind of took over. I think for me, the great thing is just connecting with people in real life. It's very different to being, you know, online. So when you actually go to Australia, you go to, you know, Dubai, to Africa, wherever you go, and you actually see people in real life, that's a different buzz. Like, that's like, wow, oh my God, like I started in my bedroom, I made a song, which cost me nothing, and I'm somehow doing a tour of Africa or of, you know, of America. So that was crazy. Obviously then, I mean, I kind of began to focus a bit more on kind of bigger productions, better, you know, bigger campaigns, my own songs as well. So signed a deal with T-Series in India, which was at the time a massive thing for me. Obviously they were like a powerhouse in India. I think probably still the biggest, you know, label in India.
Let's actually talk about that. Did you actually know, like you were like, okay, I want to be a singer. I need, obviously you need connection. So maybe you're knocking on doors. Maybe people were like, we don't know. So you were like, YouTube, if I can put out a song, a cover, did you kind of have a strategy, or literally was this like a happy accident?
So weirdly, you know, I actually had, which no one knows, I actually released about 3-4 English songs on like local radio stations, that kind of stuff. And I was building a bit of a fan base in the UK, kind of Desi scene, and the UK urban scene, like the R&B scene. So I was kind of like doing very small shows and kind of school shows and stuff. And I was building a bit of a following with my own songs. So not covers, actually like my own songs, but fully English, no Desi twist to it. I think the very first song that I did a cover of was actually Why This Kolaveri. I think it was the first remix I ever did. And the first time I ever did anything Asian, like, I mean, because I'm actually half Tamil. So that song was, you know, a Tamil song. So for me, you know, having that link back to my roots from Sri Lanka or from South India kind of was like, oh, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. So, you know, what would happen if I take that and put it into an R&B song? Hence why. But, you know, I did actually put a disclaimer saying I've not really done this before. So just to, you know, just bear in mind, this is like experiment for me. So literally I shot the video in my pajamas, like that's the bottom half of the video is cut off. You can't see my boxer shorts. Literally, I'm sitting there in my room in my
I'm going to have to look closely at the video again now. I didn't realize.
All you're going to see is like waist up.
Okay.
So, yeah, I shot it, literally edited it, put it out in like a day. I remember just being I think I was at lunch at my auntie's house, and I think I was getting all these, because at that time I wasn't that big, so I had all my alerts on. So I had all these kind of alerts saying like new comments, new whatever, new views, new likes. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, what's happening here? This is a bit crazy, because I wasn't used to getting even
like, was it like 1 or 2? Was it like you have 2,000 new likes?
Yeah, I think it was like constantly just going off, like, you know. So I put it on mute, and then I think I checked like in the evening, and it was already like 1 million views or something like that. So which at that time was a lot. You know, now
that's still a lot.
Got crazy these days, where you get the tens of millions of views in a day. Yeah. But back then, that was 2011. That's like 7 years ago, so it's a long time ago. Yeah, it was a big thing for me. And overnight, we were getting emails from people, and literally, I remember back in the day, literally we'd fly to like New Zealand, like 27 hours away or something, 27-hour flight, and sing Why This Kolaveri like once, and then fly back. Literally, it was
But
like
that's amazing.
but then when I was there, I would do press, I'd do
Of
interviews,
course.
and I would do like fan meetups and stuff, and I would actively engage the fan base there. So obviously being there in person, people get to know the real you, and get to meet you and stuff. So in the early days, for like very, very low amounts of money, I'd travel across the world to do a show just for the sake of being there, come back, fly somewhere else. And I was actually working at the same time, so I was actually doing like a kind of like a job.
You were working?
In marketing, yeah. So I just finished university, and I was just started working, and I was actually like, my boss was like, dude, like, where are you going on the weekends? Like, I feel like you're not in the UK, because I'd be like 9 to 5 in the week in London, then like in the evenings I'd be doing shows.
And they had no idea that you were blowing up on YouTube.
He didn't know what I was doing, so he was a bit like, you seem really tired, like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
And then my boss is like my biggest fan. He's the guy, literally, he convinced my dad to let me leave work, because my dad was like, nah, come on, man, like, you're not gonna make this into a career. I mean, not in a harsh way, as a standard.
He's being a parent.
Yeah, and I mean, and he's very, very chilled for a dad for sure. But my boss was like, what are you doing here? Like, leave. Like, obviously this is what you're kind of.
What a great boss.
Yeah. So I mean, I think obviously because I wasn't working that hard in my job anyway, so probably like just leave anyway.
It's a good riddance. Go.
For the best anyway. Yeah. So I mean, that was like literally the most kind of fun I would have, because I had like a income coming in from a job, and I could just have a good time in the evening just making beats, because I'm a producer as well and a composer. So I would literally spend my evenings just having fun in studio, making a song, trying different things, and there was no financial pressure. It was just like, this is just a fun hobby. And then I would start doing shows, and again, it was still a hobby to an extent. I was still not getting paid that much. I think then it was
Do you remember how much you were getting paid at that time?
like a few £100, something like that. I don't know.
How much is that Canadian?
I don't know, like 221. I think so. I had maybe like $500. I don't know, something
That's
like
not too bad.
Something like that.
It's not like you
It may
lost
be
money
bit
going
more
there.
than that, no. I think it was a bit more. If it was like,
Can you imagine if your guess was like more than you're getting paid? You're like, it's not even worth it.
Because I watched the interview of Ed Sheeran, literally, and he told me, I think he was saying that he literally, like, the first 2 years of his career, like, he literally would just do shows where he would pay for his own petrol. Like, he wouldn't get paid. You get paid like travel fees, and there was like empty bars, empty pubs, and for 2 years. And eventually, I think, there's always a point where something just clicks, and it just goes like that.
Well, you
Not
got to pay
always,
your
but
dues, right? You got to do the struggle in order.
I feel like if you don't experience that, I mean, I would rather do this than that and then this. I feel like if you kind of grow slowly and kind of build a foundation with you as you grow, kind of, build that fan base organically, it really helps in the long run, because I think then your decline will be slower too. I think if you're like a one-hit wonder suddenly, with no experience of doing the graft and the hustle and doing all those crappy shows early on, when things are hard, you're not really sure how to handle it. You kind of freak out. You're like, oh my God,
and it also keeps you humble, because it reminds you that you can be hot one minute and you could be
100%.
forgotten about,
yeah,
right?
I mean, like, if a flop song and you're down here, good song again. So I mean, like, I think the great thing is, being in what we do, we have a lot of ups and downs. I think it's known. It's known. In any career in the arts, whether it's film or modeling or whatever it is.
You're only as good as your last project or single or interview.
Constantly having to reinvent yourself, do different things. And it's even more challenging now with the whole kind of generation of kids who are on Snapchat, Instagram, 10 different platforms. You have to constantly be doing live streams, and it's a lot of work to actually just be available, like emotionally available, and being online like that. So I think for someone like me, who I guess YouTube was great, but even now these younger kids are like into there's a whole new realm of like YouTube is old news, and now it's like just snap stories and Insta story. So I mean, that for me, that is like, not that I'm that old, but I feel like there's still like there's always a new thing to learn. There's always ways to improve your marketing, and obviously nowadays, I mean, we have the power to kind of self-market. Like we can self-promote, and labels are still very powerful in terms of the big pushes, the kind of the big spending in marketing. But in terms of day to day, artists really just, I mean, you look at Drake. Drake is like a self-marketing genius. Like, you find like memes. He'll work out ways to just, he'll do like a Kiki dance challenge. Well, it wasn't his idea, but
where people are getting like hit by cars just trying to like do the same dance. It's like, you've got power then.
Yeah, I mean, so I think I think that the pressure is there, but the key is to be like, today might be a bad day, but tomorrow might be a great day. So I think there's always been songs which I've done which have flopped, which I thought would be huge. Songs that I thought nothing of. I thought there'd be nothing. Like Suit. The song, that song for me. Not that I thought I didn't expect it to really be a big song. And
People
then,
are constantly remaking that song. I've been at the
Yeah.
festival circuits, and other artists, huge artists, will start singing that song.
yeah. So I mean, look, I mean, just you have no idea what's going to connect. Like you might think you know, but you don't know for sure until the song comes out and it's living out there, you know, in the real world. It's hard. I mean, you can play it to your mom and your girlfriend and your friends and whatever else, but until you actually see what the audience thinks of it, you know. So I mean, I think the key thing that I've learned is just keep trying different things.
Yeah.
Keep reinventing yourself. You know, just keep enjoying it. Like I think, I mean, I'm fortunate to love what I do. Like every day, I love what I'm doing, traveling, making songs. I mean, making a song for like as a job. Like, what is that? It's crazy, right? So, I think the key is not to get too kind of worked up about, you know, the kind of ins and outs of the smaller things, and focus on the kind of big picture of your kind of your overall goals and direction.
I think it's good to be you. Do you wake up in the morning and you're like, wow, like I can't believe I get to have this life?
You know, I genuinely enjoy meeting people in general. Like, so I think, you know, one thing that a lot of friends of mine who are artists, they hate is having to do pictures and meet and greets. I think for me, actually, weirdly enough, not in like a kind of self-loving way, but I do actually enjoy it because I feel like I get to meet people to really connect. Like, I mean, being, you know, in a studio and, you know, locked away, you know, making an album, making a song, is great. But when you actually see the reactions, as you're saying, people actually reacting to your songs and actually, you know, giving you their feedback on your songs, is amazing. And I feel like, you know, that love and affection, you can't, it never gets old. Like it's always an amazing feeling, you know, to travel somewhere which is not home for you and to feel that love is amazing. So I think I definitely went through a phase where I think I took it for granted a little bit. I feel like I was just a bit like cool, like, you know, it's fun. But what I think, you know, having gone through lots of different things, I feel like I definitely value how important that is, you know, having that interaction. And I think the key thing is, I think when you kind of start out, you obviously have your kind of your objectives and your goals. When you meet them, you kind of don't appreciate that you've achieved it. You're always looking for something bigger and something better. And we always want more and more and more. So you don't really fully digest what you've achieved, I guess. And I've seen, you know, people that really hustle really hard. I feel like, you know, they're like striving for something even greater and they're not appreciating what they already have in some ways. But I think for me, one big thing is, I think it was 1 year, 2015 or 2016, I literally took a flight like every 2 days. I was on a plane the whole time.
Wow.
Sacrificed all my social life, didn't see my friends, family. Like my brother had a baby, wasn't there for, you know, for his birth. I missed it, like one of my best friend's weddings. A lot of big things that were happening. I feel like I was on a constant grind just to be out there and perform. And I wasn't really that happy. I felt like that was like the least happy year of my career probably, because I feel like it depends who you are. But for me, like getting that balance of like actual real life versus career, I think having that kind of combination is important. I think, you know, having done that, I learned, you know, like, what makes me happy is not just success in music. It's not just being the biggest, or, you know, having the most, whatever views, whatever. It's actually having friends and having like a life and having fun and actually, you know, enjoying what life has to offer. It isn't just about, you know, trying to make money and just constantly grind. So for me, I think I've achieved that balance a bit better. I'm trying to, you know, make time to definitely stick to plans that I made with friends and not cancel them. Like, 'cause obviously, like my line of work, weekends is like the main working days for us. Like, so weekends tend to be just shows. So, and that's like the days that they have their birthdays and weddings and whatever.
You're like, do you mind doing it on a Monday?
Exactly.
I'm
free on like Monday afternoon. Like, you know, call me then. And they're all like lawyers and bankers and doctors. So that, you know, like I have very few friends from school or university who've actually done anything in the arts. That they're mainly kind of you know, they're mainly doing, they're killing it in their industries, which I guess keeps me grounded too, because they're all doing really well. You know, I don't feel like I'm like the odd one out. I think everyone's doing really well in their own different lanes. So having, you know, great, you know, friends who are achieving great things around me is also important. But I think, you know, having that mixture of not always having to talk about music is great too. Having like someone who could, you know, talk to me about, you know, it kind of makes you more rounded as a person in general. So yeah, so I think, you know, the key for me has been to get that balance, getting that, you know, that actual family life and, you know, friends and that kind of stuff alongside the whole, you know, world domination as well. Attempting to.
I was actually going to mention that because I know in this industry, there's always like some new hot thing that comes out. And do you find on the business aspect, have you got to a point where you're feeling comfortable, or do you still feel like you're still kind of like hustling so that you don't have to wake up to a day where all of a sudden everyone's like, sorry, Arjun, you were like last year, you're down?
I think you always have to, you know, I think it's great to have people who are kind of not rivals, but in the same lane as you, because it'll push you. Like I always use the example of Ronaldo and Messi. So like in soccer, so which to you guys it means nothing, right? So Messi and Ronaldo are the two best.
I've heard of them.
The two best players of all time, probably. And if they weren't there together at the same time, they wouldn't have pushed each other's to kind of achieve amazing things. I think it's always great to have people around you that are making you work harder, do better. I think we have a great scene. I think our scene is very kind of it's in a good place. I feel like there's a lot of good energy. I think the scene has to win. Like for our whole culture for us all to win, the culture has to kind of move forward as a movement. There has to be like a Desi movement. I honestly believe that the way that it'll work is the way that we can convert to a more mainstream audience is if the way that the Hispanics, wave has happened with the J Balvins and the Shakiras and Malumas, and then the K-pop thing is getting really big now. There's a massive K-pop explosion. There's massive African. There's not been an Indian cultural thing which has crossed over for a long time. There was like Punjabi MC that.
I know, it's the one song that they still play.
Literally. So there's not like been like there's not been an Indian wave in the mainstream. There's not been like an Indian cultural movement in the mainstream US and UK, which I think that needs. I think it's going to happen pretty soon. I think India's catching up very fast. India's getting more and more modern, more and more Western. And
it's interesting you bring that up because I think your music, I was just telling you this in the car, I'm like, I would totally picture you, like if I were to turn on the radio for you to be on there, because like your music, the way you do it, it's a nice like balance where you'll have a little bit of the influence, but a lot of it is mostly English. So I mean, like, I don't imagine if somebody non-South Asian, they could still listen to your music and appreciate it, right?
It's the vibe. Like, I mean, music is not just about words, it's about the vibe as well.
Yeah.
So, I think that's why Punjabi MC is still such a vibe. Like everyone just it goes off in a club even now because it's just a dope song.
I want you to be going off in a club. I want to go to a club and have your music playing there.
Go to like a Desi club and you hear it all the time. But no, I mean, so that's exactly why obviously I signed a deal last year with Universal UK to kind of try and make that crossover more into a more Western market, because I feel like being from the UK, speaking English and singing mainly in English, you're right. Like, I should really be tapping that market as well. I mean, obviously India is amazing, and I love our market. Our fan base is crazy, but that is it's a matter of time before the Indian sound becomes cool again. Like it kind of like, well, it hasn't really been cool ever, but like it becomes cool for the first time.
Yeah.
Like I think that there definitely will be a point where India sets a bit of a trend for like maybe for like a year or for like a summer. Like I mean, this last summer has just been Spanish, like everywhere. Spanish. So I think that'll happen, hopefully. The numbers are crazy. I mean, in India, you can see like the numbers online, on YouTube, the streaming is getting like, because I mean, India is like what, 1.3 billion? When it all get online, it's going to be pretty dangerous. Like it's going to be like matching the numbers of the Drakes and the Beyoncés. So so let's see. I mean, for me, it's just great to have a scene, like be part of a scene, be part of something, not just be an artist on your own who's trying to win on their own and trying to just cut everyone else off. I feel like you got to be, that's why I feel like I do a bunch of collaborations with artists who sing different languages to me. Some sing Punjabi, sing Hindi, sing Tamil, rappers, composers, different parts of the world. I feel like bringing together these different sounds is the key to to something new, something fresh. So just having obviously Suit is me and a very Punjabi artist, Guru Randhawa, who's a friend of mine from back in the day. But that very R&B vocal with a very like Punjabi vocal is,
I love that
it's
song.
It's like, oh wow, like that's different. So so for me the key has been to kind of try and cultivate the scene. And I think in the UK especially at the moment, we have a bit of a little clique, like we're all kind of coming up together, we're all doing shows together, we're all building this this movement. I think it'll happen at some point soon. So
the UK has so many interesting artists that are young and creating this fusion, and that's like my type of music, and I get excited.
I think it's a great time. I think we're going to see that kind of that era where we had the Jay Seans and the Raghavs and the Jaggy D's. That's kind of like the energy we're going to bring back pretty soon.
For sure.
I think there's enough talent now to make it happen. So
of course, and I love that you're collaborating with so many of them, because then you get the best of both worlds. You get your style, you get theirs. So really, really smart move. Let's get back to, you were saying sometimes songs don't do well, and I actually wanted to know that, because in today's day and age, as soon as you release basically a music video, boom, the stats, right? It kind of sucks, because
I mean, look,
back
there
in
are
the day,
some which are like late growers. The songs that just don't start off that great and then suddenly pick up later. But you're right. Generally speaking, like on the first week or so, how a song is reacting. But it also, like for me, the struggle really is to sometimes do what I believe is the right thing to do, versus just go for the big numbers, because I think there's definitely a formula to getting big numbers on songs. I think there's a formula for the Asian market. I mean, for the South Asian market, it's definitely putting Hindi and Punjabi into a song is going to guarantee you a bigger reach, of course. But just kind of fight that and just go a bit more with your own instincts and be like, you know, no, I want to try and push this whole new thing, start something new. It takes a bit more kind of a bit more guts, but also like, you know, it can be risky. Like the songs aren't going to get the same big numbers. They won't respond the same way early on. But I feel like, you know, if you keep trying at it, at some point that'll be the way that we'll move more towards a more Western direction at some point.
But when you were independent, I feel like that was, you could essentially put any song that you wanted, right? Because essentially you're a pop singer, right? And pop singers, it's popular music. You want to play and sing to whatever's hot at that moment. And do you sometimes find that it's like, it's a tough situation because you want to make music for people that they want to hear, but then you also want to make music that makes you stand out and maybe allows you to experiment.
That's the hardest challenge for me is making the fans happy, and the fans that you've already built up.
Exactly.
And then trying to explore a new different sound, which the fans may not want to hear, but then someone else might want to hear. And but then, you know, for me, it's always been a bit like, trying to run two different things in parallel. It's like having two different companies, like trying to run one in India and one in UK, for example, and just having to constantly just juggle between the two. And it can be great. It can be unproductive because sometimes you can't do either fully. I feel like I definitely have committed a lot more of the last year or so to making my English album. I mean, there's fans every day being like, when's your next Hindi remix? When's your next Punjabi song? When's your next? You know, there's definitely always demand for that kind of more fusion stuff. But, you know, I'm kind of trying to stick to my guns and just keep that, you know, keep this English album, you know, just try and give it the kind of the push that it needs. You know, and I feel like if it doesn't get to where it should get to, I'll probably go back to this and then come back to that again at some other point. I feel like, you know, there's always, I think the key is, as you're saying, like to react fast. Like now being kind of in the age that we're in, you have the power to react to things quickly. You can just drop a song like, you know, overnight if something just appeals to you. Yeah. And it can spread through YouTube, through Instagram, whatever. So the key is to constantly not kind of be too precious about, don't be too attached to something. If it's not working, just move on. But also also give it a bit of a chance to work. Like don't just jump off it just because it hasn't got 10 million views in one day. Like I think that, but you're right. The hardest balance is to be like, to have the artistic integrity and be like, challenge yourself, like push yourself, try to do something new, push boundaries, be different versus being commercial and just trying to sell as much as you can, try and get those big hits. There's big Bollywood songs, there's big, you know, kind of pop songs. Yeah. And I think that's a struggle for a bunch of artists. I mean, you find artists that start off being really kind of cool and like edgy and like kind of having their own little independent fan base, and then they get big and they're like, oh crap, I got to actually, like, I got to now appeal to like a much wider market, so I have to definitely water some stuff down. Like people like The Weeknd, like I remember his early stuff was very dark, very like kind of trippy, very like druggy, and then obviously he became like a role model for like young kids. Yeah. And he's working with, you know, with massive producers and, you know, much more commercial producers. And obviously now his last few albums have been a lot more pop. And I feel like you're always going to lose some people along the way who kind of know you from something else. But I think for me, the great thing is I've always done both. I've never stepped away fully from the English stuff. I've never stepped away from the Asian, from the South. Asian for you means Chinese, right? So I always keep saying Asian. So sorry, South Asian.
That's okay. I get it. South Asian.
Yeah. So Asian meaning brown. Sorry.
I've not heard any of your Chinese songs, so I knew what you're talking about.
That's one thing I should definitely do. So you know, but. I mean, my main passion has always been production. So I love composing songs, producing beats. That's why language is not a big deal for me. Like I work with a Punjabi artist, I work with anybody, any language, Spanish, whatever it is, because I think it's about the vibe of the music more so than, I've never been like so caught up on lyrics. I do love lyrics. I do obviously write all my own songs, but I've always been more drawn towards the kind of the energy of the song, like the kind of vibe, like more the production.
How has life changed now that you've been signed to a major label? Because I know a lot of artists, you know, before I used to be like, oh, you're independent, you're probably trying to get signed. And I was surprised at the amount of artists that were like, no, I want to, you know, have control. I don't want to be owned. I want to be able to have a say. So is that a struggle now where now you're no longer independent? Do you find that you're okay with now having maybe less say?
Things have changed. I think when I first began music, my dream was to sign sign with a big UK major label. That was like the holy grail. Everybody was trying to, I mean, that was like the only way to make it. Like you had to be part of a massive machine. I still do think that the only way to make it at a certain level, there's not enough stories yet of people who, especially in the pop world, maybe if it's like hip hop, it's a bit different, but in the kind of pop commercial music world, without a big machine behind you, it's very, very tough to break radio, because the amounts of money that are required to market that kind of product, you need to have a major label funding, because like a small label that doesn't have the reach, doesn't have the connect. So I do think that there's still a role to play for a major label. But the downside is exactly what you're saying. You can't be as flexible. You can't be as nimble. You can't just, you know, I can't control my release game plan like I used to. I could have I say I could drop a song tomorrow, but I can't. I now have to go through a lot of like, you know, red tape and you have to go to this legal team and that team and they have to get cleared by this person. So it definitely can be frustrating. I think I'm not at a point where I find it too annoying yet, but I can imagine that if things don't, I've heard stories of artists who've been trapped with a label where they haven't been able to release music at all. So the one good thing is that I have it in my deal where I'm actually allowed to release the South Asian stuff too, because I knew that would always be my bread and butter as well. So kind of I'm not really tied up into something where I can't keep things moving. So if this is moving, I can always move over here and vice versa. So I think the key to me is always to be as flexible as possible, be as in control as you can. And I have a very clear vision for what I want to do. So I feel like some artists, I guess, would be more at the mercy of a label, whereas I feel like I came into it with a sound which I sold to them, which they bought into. And I think they have very little expertise in the market that I'm from. So I think they trust my team to kind of handle that side of things a lot more. I think they'll step in as and when we get to a point where we need that real big push, when we have the kind of the right amount of energy bubbling in the UK kind of mainstream scene. They'll probably hopefully press the button and take me to that level that I have to. I mean, the big thing that they can achieve is radio. Like that's still a huge thing. Like radio is massive in America. You can't literally chart pretty much in the UK without radio. Like it's very difficult. I mean, there's very, very few examples of people just put a song on Apple Music or Spotify without radio in the charts. In fact, there's probably none. So there'll be like a lot of hype around it online, but it won't be like, it won't be like a top 40 selling song. So that's the role of a label. I still think it's important. And I'm not deep enough into it yet to tell you how I feel completely about it. Like it's early for me. Like, just literally released a few songs now. So I think, give me like 6 months to a year and I'll tell you.
Okay, when you come back for your next show here, we'll do a follow-up and be like, Arjun, how are things? And hopefully you're not like, oh my God. Yeah. You're still like, you're in your prime right now, right? So you've had some experience, now you've had some lessons, you know, you're getting more comfortable, you know the business, but you have like so much ahead of you. So that's why I think it's such an exciting time, because you could do anything right now. Yeah. Everything's available to you. I think that is the thing that I think is the most exciting, is that like there's still like until you get to a point where you've exhausted your options, there's still so many things you could do. So I feel like there's, in the mainstream especially, like I feel like I'm still so new, like I'm not really known at all. So there's so much, and in a way, like whatever we're doing, even if you take an L, like if it's a failure, it kind of goes under the radar, because you're not really like someone like a Nicki Minaj, whatever she does at the moment is being heavily scrutinized. So like a failure from her is like almost like a game over, versus like a new artist. I'm at a stage where I'm still able to really experiment and try different things in that world. In the Daisy scene, it's a bit different. I feel like definitely a flop song there is a bit damaging sometimes. But obviously, like they expect it to get a certain number of views, certain number of streams, etc. And if you don't, then it's a bit like, oh shit, has he fallen off kind of thing. But versus, isn't that so irritating? But I think that the fans know that I'm trying something very different at the moment. Like I'm fully just going English. It's very, very hard to get the same kind of numbers and streams on an English song as it is on a Punjabi or Hindi song. So. And obviously on my own songs versus covers and mashups, which obviously are a lot easier to kind of to spread. So let's see. I mean, I think I will definitely. I have a bunch of collaborations coming up with some quite big artists in India. Still gonna definitely be doing some Bollywood stuff as well. Wait, are you gonna name drop some of these artists? I don't. I always name things that it doesn't always come out, and then it's really. Are you a little superstitious? No, or is it just because like, I just say it's happening and it doesn't happen for is there a contract? Like when you say you're working with them, is it not official? With you literally are like, they'll call you and be like, we're gonna do this song, and then that's it. This is like, I never had a contract with any artist I've ever worked with. We just do it. Oh, so really it's like a handshake deal to be code. Like, I hope you're gonna pull your end. I mean, you'd hope that having made a song with someone that, I mean, look, there's other factors coming to, there's labels, there's other teams, there's timings of things. So until I get like the final product, I'm not gonna announce it. So but it's a big artist. There's a few big artists, yeah. When I was researching you and asking people like what kind of questions they would want to know about you, everyone kept bringing up Bollywood, and I was like, I didn't really see you like pursuing the Bollywood thing, because I'm like, I think he really enjoys what he's doing. He's singing, he's got a huge talent, and he has this huge North American market that he needs to conquer still, right? Like, come over here. Do you mean acting in Bollywood, or do you mean music? I'm like, look at Diljit, right? Like he was a singer, then he got into Punjabi films, then he got into Bollywood. So like people were asking me about that, but what are your thoughts? Is that something at all that you're interested in? In India, I guess the hierarchy is like actor, then music composer, and then singer probably. I think like there's the acting world is like the A-list in India. So but that's where you have the power. So I think everyone just believes that
everyone wants to be an actor. They can't believe that if you don't. But for me, like, it's a bit like saying, I don't know, like, let's say that you're you're passionate about medicine, you're a doctor, and then someone says to you, why don't you be a dentist? Because you make more money. It's like, well, because I want to do music, or I want to be a doctor. So for me, like, I got into this not to make money. I got into this because I love music, and it's not because I want to be an actor or I want to be anything else. So for me, obviously, I mean, there's been roles that we've definitely been offered a lot of quite interesting parts in films and stuff. Yeah, lots of different things, including one really big film, which didn't work out. It was very, very early on in my career. It was like 6, 7. Like
but
6,
you were
6
actually interested in signing on.
I mean,
for
like,
that.
we talked to them, and we had a discussion about it. We then realized that my Hindi was not good enough, and my acting skills.
They can dub you.
I mean, like, I would have to take it quite seriously. And the thing is that there is a risk that if it's a terrible film, it kind of damages your brand in music too. I've seen that happen with some people where it's like, oh my god, like that was really, really cringy. Why did you do that? You know. So I feel like until I'm at a point where I'm comfortable enough to say I can take a bit of a break from music and spend 6 months doing a movie, I don't think I'll do that. But if it's about a singer, if it's like a biography type thing, or or like a kind of a music.
You're basically playing yourself.
Yeah.
They make a movie on your life, and you're like, I know who'd be great to play me.
But you know, like, so my acting skill. If I watch my early videos, my acting is really bad, like very, very bad. Like,
I don't think it is.
I mean, like, my mom gives me hell from acting. She's like, you're the worst actor.
Oh, moms are just always critical. Trust me.
My mom's the worst. Yeah, my mom's actually part of my team as well, so she's very involved in my career. So she definitely does tell me that I'm bad at acting. But latterly, apparently, the last few years I've massively improved. She says.
But a lot of your videos are like love songs, so that's tough. Like, I just watching your video with Jonita.
Yeah, and that was such a funny video because literally we're both like, what are we doing? Because we're friends.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
really hard to, like,
and I know Jonita, so I know she's like not into that kind of stuff, right?
She was actually, she was more natural than I was. I was just literally like staring into someone's eyes for like 5 minutes. It's just so cringe. Like, so embarrassing to like a friend as well.
Yeah.
I just start laughing within 5 seconds.
Are there like a lot of bloopers of you guys laughing? I need to see these bloopers.
It was basically just me just cracking up.
But like, then you're like caressing her face, you're looking at her with longing. Like, to me, that's not easy, right? Like, I would be awkward too.
It is a lot easier when it's someone you don't know, or it's someone who's, you know, a model. If it's like a friend, it's a bit weird. Like, it's strange. That was fun though. Like, she's actually very sick. Like, in that shoot, she's actually very, very ill. I think we flew her in that day, and poor thing had to shoot like that day.
So you're trying to look at her, and she's like coughing in your face. You're like,
No, she's actually like, no, anyway, let's not go there. But yeah, basically, shout out to Jonita. She's killing it. She's a champion.
Yeah.
Man. She's doing amazing things. So I think, you know, like, it's great for me to see like other friends of mine who kind of, you know, came up at the same time, killing it in their industries, like, you know, around the world. And yeah, so, but yeah, I mean, going back to acting, I feel like acting is something that I would have to definitely put a bit of time into to take it seriously. But at the moment, not really a priority for me.
Yeah. Let's actually then talk about your songs. So a lot of the songs that I find that my friends and people are always talking about are the love songs, you know, the ballads. Sometimes it's, you know, yes, I'm in love with you. And sometimes they're kind of sad because you're like, oh, the love that I got away or something. So I love your voice. And I think you do really great ballads and the love songs too. But then I was like, to get into that, you know, have the emotion to convince us that you are crying after a girl, or, you know, you're trying to win a girl over, you got to get into the headspace. So how do you do that?
So it's weird. So I mean, the first, I guess, 2-3 years of my career, if you analyze the songs I released early on with T-Series especially, like, they are very mainly love songs. They're mainly kind of slower, either more romantic or more depressing, whichever way. So that was actually based off of a lot of true stories, a lot of relationships early on in my life. You look at my last 3-4 years, I haven't actually done any sad songs. I haven't released a single sad song since about 2014.
Yeah.
So the last 2015. So the last 3 years I've released basically like songs like Suit, more like party songs, more upbeat, because I feel like I want to be true to how I'm feeling. I mean, obviously there will be times you have to channel something. If I'm given a film song or something, like, I have to try and write to a brief, then obviously I'm gonna have to try and tap into something that I've been through. So it's weird because obviously all my songs I've ever released pretty much up to like this year I've written myself and pretty much all produced myself as well. The project that I just done recently with Ireland with the mainstream label was the first time I've actually sat for like 6 months, being in a studio with a bunch of other people, like actually just a big team of different producers, different writers, not always producing everything myself, just kind of releasing a bit of the kind of creative side of being a bit more of the artist, and just kind of you know, I think that's, if you analyze actually big songs, like big pop songs, there's like 10 names on the credits of writing. Like there's always like there's 5 writers, 5 producers. There's always like a very collaborative process. And I really think I've taken my writing game to that next level by working with better people, much better writers than me, who've done this for like much bigger artists than me. So that has really helped me to improve. And I think, you know, the album that I've just released, if you go check it out, which is available right now, have a look on it online, is a lot better produced and a lot better written, I think. And not, if I'm honest with you, not all of the songs are 100% honestly my story. Some of them are, because I've written with a bunch of different people. Some of it's like them writing with me about what they think that I would feel, and sometimes it's a bit like not the exact, you know, it's not the truth of what I've been through. I mean, not everything is what you've been through. Like, but you're right, though. Before, when I began writing songs, I would definitely be quite reactive to things that were happening to me, like day in, day out. I would be like in a plane or something, and I'd see something, and I just like write it. I'd like be singing into my phone, like making like a voice note of an idea.
I would love to be that person sitting beside you, being like, "What is this guy doing?
Awkward, literally,
is he filming me?
It's like I'm a terrorist, like on the plane, like talking to my, you know, talking to like a. It's definitely like I think I've definitely learnt that it's not just about me being in a room on my own, writing a song, making a beat. I think it's the key to success. I feel to get to a bigger, wider market is to collaborate with experts in, you know, in different fields. You know, people that have written songs for huge artists. Like on this album, actually, you know, one of the writers has written for, you know, for like Kylie Minogue, for like Dua Lipa, some, you know, really big UK artists. One were written for Rihanna. So, you know, some really cool. I mean, really great people who have written for much bigger artists than me. So I think, you know, it's about kind of. I think one thing that I've learned is you can always keep learning. You can always keep evolving. You have to keep kind of reskilling yourself. Don't just keep, you know, don't assume that what you're doing is going to last forever, because you know, it might not. Like that formula might be stale after a while. Someone else might do something, you know, more evolved of what you're doing. Constantly having to you know, think about different ways to evolve is important, I think.
You seem like you're very smart about your career and decisions. You're very involved, which I always appreciate about artists. I'm always like, be aware of what's happening, where everything is going. Don't just rely on other people.
I mean, this industry is like, you know, a long career is like 5 years. It's a long career. It's actually crazy. Like, I mean, there's artists that I know who've been going for like 15 years, which is incredible. Like, to have a career that long in music is crazy. And I mean, you look at even like the biggest artists, like they do tend to just fade. Like, they just, you know, there's a time when people are like, okay, there's a new version of you, or you're just not relevant, you know. So I think you're right. I think the key is to think long term. For me, I've always been a producer first, so I'd love to do more of that. You know, switch more to like on the back end, kind of find other artists that I believe in, that I can push more as a producer. Even management, you know, I feel like I have a great network. I've traveled the world like for like the last 5 years, 6 years, and I've built an amazing database of friends and, you know, people in media, promoters, other artists. So I feel like I can take an artist who's very new and teach them how to tap that worldwide fan base. I think there's, you know, there's things that I could hopefully, wisdom that I could impart to someone.
Arjun management, I like it.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like, you know, I'm not at a place yet where I can even think about that at the moment, but I feel like at some point it's a very unique industry. It's a very niche thing that we do, and it's kind of I feel like very few artists I can relate to, like people like Raghav. I've sat down with a lot, because he's been through the same kind of what's the word, like, I guess, circuit of shows, and I feel like he definitely has a lot of you know, great advice for me. And it's nice to have someone who can just, you know, I love being, I think I actually enjoy socializing after shows. Most artists are like, do a show, dip out, or just do a show, get drunk, and then whatever. But I like actually enjoy talking to other artists. I feel like it's quite rare what we do. Like, you know, it's quite a unique thing. You can't relate to other people. So just being able to share that with someone else is great. And I love, I mean, like, I love partying too. So obviously it's very much like work hard, play hard. I do like to stay after a show, party, have a good time. If I travel somewhere, I try and, you know, see the place. I don't just try and, you know, just go there, be in a hotel room and do the show. I mean, I do that more so now, because I'm a little bit tired, and, you know, but like back in the day, you know, I'd land in Africa, I do a safari. Go to Australia, I see like a kangaroo. So, you know, I'd always try and maximize what I was doing as well. But now I feel like obviously it gets a bit tiring when you're just like, I want to just sleep, I want to be in a hotel.
And you're in and out too, so it makes it harder, right? Like before, sometimes, I think you probably wouldn't have back-to-back gigs. Like like we're just in New York. Yeah,
it's about really putting the work in. I think it's not just about, you know, I just saying, like, you know, there's a lot of great things which you could, I guess, get caught up in. There's a lot of fun things which you could, you know, spend time doing. But I feel like you should do that, but also make sure you always refocus on the main goal.
Yeah. Plus, I think your personality, you're really easy to get along. So that's why I know we have a lot of mutual friends in the business. Everyone says really great things about you. And even that's why I keep loving having interviews with you, because I'm like, he's not difficult. He's like fun. So when I catch up with you, it's like seeing an old familiar face to be like, yeah, you're back. Let's see what you're working on, right? So I think that really helps you as well. People want to be around you, and I'm sure are willing to give you advice because they're like, this is a great guy. Like he's not actually trying to be like, oh, you know, it's my time, you know, move aside. You're like, let me learn. Let's all promote each other. So good job.
Thank you very
good
much.
job. I'm
Appreciate
glad
it.
you're like that.
Very kind.
I feel like you must have some good travel stories.
Travel stories.
Because this guy literally just got off a plane and I picked him up and brought him here. Like
Amin is like a slave driver, so just so you know, like she's literally dragged me from the hotel.
You just gave me a new idea for a show, by the way. I was like, I should do a car show. I should just literally, whenever artists come, I should pick them up from the airport.
Yeah.
And then take them to their, do the interview in the car.
Just like straight from the plane. Like,
yeah. So
Great.
please tell me if you like this idea, I will make this happen. But that's part of it, right? It's like,
of course.
I understand your schedule. I'm trying to make this happen too. So travel stories, you're on flights all over the place. I'm sure.
I mean, it's mostly just like missing flights and getting stuck in places. And
do you get recognized on flights now?
Quite a lot, yeah. I mean, it just depends on the airline, but yeah, I mean.
Like, were you recognized here?
I have in the airport, not on the plane actually, but I have sat next to sometimes fans, which can be awkward. Which is like it's like a long flight. You're just like, they're gonna see me snoring or like sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like that's happened a few times.
You're like, can we switch? Yeah.
One fun thing. Once on the I showed in Dubai. And one of the sheikhs, there's like 50 different sheikhs in Dubai, so you lose track of which one is which. One of the sheikh's daughters is a big fan, apparently. So one of the sheikh owns Emirates Airlines. So on that plane, literally, so like in the flight, like 5 different air hosts, what do you call them?
Air hostess?
Exactly, yeah. Came like with sparklers and like a cake and like came to my seat.
Was it your birthday?
No. I was just like, and they're like, this is from the sheikh's daughter. I was like,
how did he know, or how did she know you were on the flight?
That's the crazy thing. I think probably because they knew the promoter of the show.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, wow, that's pretty fun. So that's a cool story, I guess. But yeah, look, I never actually think I just genuinely think it's an amazing thing that the people that care about you, like, actually want to see you, want to spend time doing things for you. I don't find it creepy at all. I mean, it can be borderline creepy sometimes, but I feel like there's definitely more love. I treat it like more as, you know, as a great thing. I don't really get scared that often. So
because as a pop star, like, I know fans go crazy. I mean, back in the day, I also, you know, used to be very obsessed with Backstreet Boys.
Or now it's still. I mean, for me, I actually get more starstruck about sports. Somebody like about sportsmen. I'm very, very into like cricket, football, soccer. For you, I guess.
I heard a rumor that apparently you were like, if you had pursued it, you were trying to be a cricket player.
I was trying to be. It's like saying that I wouldn't have made it, but I definitely love cricket. I played it. I captained my school. I played a lot of cricket back in the day. It's very like UK thing, a very Indian thing too. Not so big over here, I don't think, cricket. But
no.
If you haven't heard of cricket, Google it. It's a sport.
Of course, the South Asian community here knows cricket. Okay. Yeah, all right, fine. But I just can't play it. So now maybe for the next time you're here, I'll learn it, and maybe we could do a little friendly cricket match.
That would be fun. That's a good format.
I know there's like so much that's been happening with you, traveling, killing it. I think you're at the top of your game. So what are kind of the goals that you have for yourself? So maybe let's talk about this year, and then maybe like the next 5 years. What are you hoping to achieve so we can keep an eye out for it? Yeah.
So you know what? At the moment, obviously, I'm focusing a lot of my time more on the Western side of things. So more on this English album, which I've just released, which is available right now. Once again, you can check it out. It's basically like, it was my dream to actually release a body of work. I think, you know, in this day and age, it's very, very hard to actually release an album. Like, it's often like you're chasing hit songs, like singles, because those are the things that really make you the money, is the hit songs. It's not so much about the kind of the albums. It's more about the one-off, you know, big,
and the
big
shows. That's also where you're making your money
too.
The
shows come from the big songs often. So I think for me, just to be able to express myself with a much more in-depth body of work, it's a lot more kind of songs that necessarily not always have been singles. It's just songs that are just kind of album tracks as well, like more kind of experimental. That was a big thing for me to release an album with a big label in the UK. I think it hasn't been done for a long. I think since the likes of Jay Sean, etc., coming from our scene, there hasn't really been, you know, that kind of body of work released on a major label. So that was a massive achievement for me. But obviously that's just kind of phase 1. Now phase 2 is to try and market it, get it out there. So obviously, I mean, like, my dream's always been to kind of crack both worlds. It's just to try and be, the Craig David. Do you know Craig David?
Yeah, I
Like,
love him.
someone like,
he was just here, eh?
Was he?
Yeah,
You just said A, so that's so Canada.
So Canadian. No, because I remember I hadn't heard about him for a while. I would listen to his old stuff. He's still so big in the UK.
He made a big comeback. Yeah, he came back.
Good for
2 years
him.
ago.
And he sounds just as good. Amazing. I was like, oh,
Amazing.
amazing.
Anyway, so that kind of soulful R&B sound, like they're very kind of guitar based. That was like that's what I grew up on. That's what I began doing. Songs like Stargazer, like if you have heard my oldest songs, very Craig David influence. So like that, it's to kind of, it's to crack the R&B market much more. I've considered actually doing, moving out here, like not Canada, sorry, North America.
Like LA probably or New York?
LA or New York, to focus more on that. At the moment, I like being...
That'd be great for you, actually.
Yeah, but I think being in London is great because you're halfway between India and America. It's like you're very far from India if you're in LA, I think. Hang on, wait. You can probably find.
But I would consider that if I were you, just maybe even doing like 6 months in LA because the music scene there.
100%.
I mean, you and Kanye could be bumping into each other, and
like being in the right environment. I mean, whenever I'm in India, when I'm in Mumbai, especially, like you just run into people all the time. Like you just in a studio, you're in a party, and you'll meet people, and you're just kind of that's how you build that network, and that's what we did in the UK. And I think that's what a bunch of artists are doing, like from our scene. Like a lot of guys have gone out to India and are living there, and because they know that's what their main focus is to crack Bollywood. So that's also tempting to try and move there for a little bit too. So at some point I probably would do both. I'll just try both and see what happens. But at the moment, I think I love being in the UK because it's halfway between the two.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to be British. I like to have that kind of influence. I think being also what was great was for this album, I hardly traveled. Having traveled non-stop for like 3 years, I took like 6 months off from traveling, took like no shows, lost a bunch of money, but it's fine. And then just kind of reconnected with my Britishness. I feel like being and
all your
home,
friends and family too. I'm sure
being around the people that influenced me when I was young, like my friends and my family, and just being in that.
Make it to that
context.
wedding now, see that birth.
Yeah, exactly. Very true.
Where's home? Is it proper London?
In London, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, like North London, yeah. I won't give you the exact address. But yeah. Yeah,
what's the address? No, joking.
Yeah. No, so I mean, I think just being proud. I think what Drake's done really well. I know you guys are very proud of Drake. Is like he's just put like his city on the map. He's represented Toronto. He's brought through a sound that is so Canadian, and so he's so proud of it. He flies the flag. I think being part of something, being from somewhere is important. So I think to represent the Britishness, the British side of me. I think I lost a bit of that by traveling so much. I was just kind of caught up in what's big around the world, what's big in India, what's big in Dubai, what's big in America. So being from the UK, just being there for 6 months was like, okay, I remember who I am, why I did this in the first place, like why I began music, So I think that was important for me. I think I just feel a lot more at peace having done that, as well. Also having just been able to take a break from touring and not have to constantly travel. Because actually the way that we do it is very strange. In the mainstream, what people will do is they'll spend like say 6 months in a studio locked away, no traveling, make an album, and then they'll tour the album for like the rest of the year or like for a year. And they'll just do back shows. Like Beyonce will do like a world tour like across the whole year. We'll try and make a song on Monday, then we'll fly somewhere on Tuesday to do a show, then we'll come back and we'll try and do something else. And like it's always very like sporadic. It's not very structured. It's very like a show comes up, you take it, you do it. It's not like we do a structured tour. So this year what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do each territory as a tour, as an album tour. So we did Australia and New Zealand. We're doing a North America tour, we're doing Africa tour, we're going to do like an Asia tour, like Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, that part of the world. And then we did like a Europe tour, UK tour. So like basically break it down into like actual, I'm going to be in this place for a while, doing it properly, not just like trying to go there and then come back and write a song. So I think now that I've released a body of work, I'm able to take a bit of time off from that.
Yeah.
There's still a bunch of songs.
That, you do.
Yeah, but there's still a bunch of songs coming out which are not part of my album, but are different projects with a different. I can't name the artist yet, but when they're finalized,
I'll find out off camera. I'm gonna find out.
Well, there's a few songs like that. So there's one song which is with a guy you may not have heard of him, but he's very very big in Holland. He's a Dutch artist. He's called First Man. He's actually half Pakistani, but he's very big in the Dutch mainstream. Like he's very very big in Holland. And funny enough, it's like he sings in Punjabi and Dutch, so it's kind of like Dutch English Punjabi fusion. A really, really cool song. Then we've done a song with Sukhbir, which again hasn't been finalized the release date, but Sukhbir have you heard of Sukhbir? He's a legend in the game. He's probably one of the biggest, Punjabi singers from back in the day, and he's still very, very big now. And yeah, then I'm gonna stop there because the rest of them are like, there's many, many collaborations, but they're not confirmed. So
I was like waiting for him, like he's gonna reveal, but you were smart. Arjun, what is it like having a personal life then? Personal
life in general, I feel like is important. I mean, I think that, as I said, like definitely like family time for me is so important. Like I'm very close to my family. Unfortunately, it's very kind of spread out. My dad's in Sri Lanka. My mum's in Sri Lanka too. I mean, they're both in Sri Lanka. But
yeah, your dad's like a big deal in Sri Lanka. When I was Googling you, your dad's like some big governor or something. And I was like, that's a pretty ambitious family. Okay.
Yeah, so he's done well for sure. So he's basically had to move. So full story is I was born in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
My dad worked in Sri Lanka. Then he worked in the UK. So we came to the UK. He's a diplomat. Like he's worked as an economist as well. And basically, then his heart was still in Sri Lanka. I think he thought he felt he could do a lot more good in Sri Lanka and he'd be a lot more impactful in Sri Lanka. So then obviously post my education and my brother's education, they moved back to Sri Lanka for my dad's work. And yeah, so obviously they're there a lot of the time. Luckily, because I travel so much to India and to Asia, I see them all the time because I'm in Sri Lanka all the time.
That's good.
And
your mom comes on tour with you. I know last time your mom was with you.
My mom doesn't come on tour with me that often, but she did come that one time. She did. She's been on like three different tours with me. Yeah. But once was amazing. Once actually she was honoured by the FIA, the Federation of Indian Americans, I think it is. Okay. There's something called the India Day Parade. It's like a big parade which happens in Madison Avenue in New York.
In New York, yes.
They honoured her as being like an inspirational mum, like mamager. Like she's
nice.
So she's someone who's very, very unique as being like a South Asian woman who's so involved in their son's career and so influential in my career as well. So I think that was great. She came to New York with me. It's always fun having a mum there because it's like she'll just tell you how it is, and
they also take care of you. Like I'm sure you don't take care of yourself as well when your mom's around.
I mean, she'd definitely be ironing my clothes, or
making sure you're eating proper,
not to wear ripped jeans and put on a blazer or something, like stop wearing a t-shirt, the standard mum stuff. But so look, she has so many ideas for my career. Like she's very active. She's constantly sending me messages being like, why don't you try this, why don't you try that? And she's very, very into world music. She's very into jazz and like Latin music too. So she's always trying to give me ideas for things. Often it's like completely the wrong thing and I'm like, no, go away. But often it's great. And I think she has a lot of ideas, which I respect a lot. She's always trying to
She reminds me of the typical mom that has like all the ideas because they think you can do everything and you're like,
like, there's no time. But no, she's amazing. She's very organized. She basically has managed my entire bookings kind of side of things for a long time, and has been very involved in my career. So anyway, going back to the story of what I did. My family. Sorry, my parents in Sri Lanka. So when I have time with them in the same place, we definitely try and maximize that now.
Of course.
So my brother has 2 kids, has a nephew and a niece. I have a nephew and a niece.
Yes, you have a nephew and a niece. Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing in the world, like just playing with them, like playing with my
Uncle Arjun.
But my nephew is like a character, like he's proper jokes. I think when you're in that environment, you just realize like there's so much more to life than just like, there's like real stuff in life. There's like creating life is quite a crazy thing. Like to actually have a baby is like, wow, I'm not ready for that yet, but like definitely at some point. Yeah, but look, so I think just there's so many things in life that I feel like you have to detach from what you think is important. Like day to day, you might think that, one little thing that went wrong is it can affect your whole mood. But actually, if you step back from it, the context of everything, like what is it? Like, come on, like one missed gig or one whatever happened. It's not that big a deal. There's much worse things happening in the world. There's much bigger things happening in the world. So I think that has been one thing that my family has always been very much like big picture. They've always thought like, long term. Hence why they probably were worried why I did music as a career. They're like, long term, what do you do? But I think, I'm very, very lucky. I think this is something that I'm always asked in every interview, like, how do your parents feel about your career? So I've asked myself that question.
I like that you I should leave this interview now.
I didn't get asked that. I'm actually doing it myself.
I assume that they were supportive because I've seen your mom, and I remember your mom was like ultimate, like so proud, just having a great time. So they love that you're doing this, right? Even in the beginning, every parent I think is kind of nervous. Music business, it's scary.
But see, look, so one thing that I've always had a big issue with is I do a bunch of college shows. I do so many college shows every year. Obviously that's a key market for me is the youth, is high school kids and college kids, and the amount of talent you see, like the amount of amazing singers, dancers, people that just have so much talent that are not going to be able to do it as a career because they're going to be a doctor, or they're going to like their parents are not going to let them do it. At that level is where we kind of just cut things off. I feel like that is one thing in America it's better than the UK, but UK especially, like that talent is not being allowed to be expressed fully yet. I think our generation will change that. I think when we have kids, we'll be a lot more open to it. But I feel like there's so much talent that I see day in, day out. I see these amazing people, and I'm like, oh no, you aren't gonna give it a shot. You're gonna stop here. And it's a hobby for them. But I feel like, if they were given the shot to do it, they would fly in whether it's acting or singing or modeling or whatever it is. But I think that would this generation would change. In America, as I was saying to you in the car, I feel like America is miles ahead in terms of South Asians being portrayed in the media, how we're perceived in the media. I think it's like, it's funny because in the UK, you see a brown face in a TV show, it's always a typical Indian guy, like it's like talking in an Indian accent, like, being really Indian, like he's obviously Indian. But like, you don't see like an Indian guy who just talks like an English person and is English basically. Whereas in America, there's entire series based around Indian people who are not even that, like Mindy Kaling, Riz Ahmed, Hassan Minhaj, Aziz Ansari, like so many different people who have their own like shows where they're just like people. They're just like normal, like people, not normal. I'm not saying it's abnormal to be Indian.
No, but they're just people. They're not representing an entire culture or race. They're just
a doctor, not an Indian doctor. Just like a guy who happens to be a doctor in a TV show. So
I know what you mean.
That is so rare in the UK. So rare. In fact, I can't even think of anyone like that. So that's something where I feel like, they have to show the Indianness of an Indian person, even with us in music. I've been in big meetings with massive execs where I've sat on a table with a bunch of guys in suits, literally like that kind of thing. And I played them music, and I played them like, R&B songs. And they'd be like, okay, cool. And I played them like the same kind of music, but with like an Indian vibe to it. They're like, oh wow, that's so you. I get it. It makes sense. It's like that is so you. And
you're like, I added one extra beat.
I put like a tabla in there, and like suddenly it's like that is. But the thing is, the problem is that it's a problem, but it's also the facts. Like the thing is, what makes us different? Like our R&B is not a sound that we've evolved ourselves. Like it's almost like if I sing R&B, I'm copying a black person singing. I mean, like it's not come from our culture. R&B has come from a history of black culture. Like it's stemmed from, like it's not just music, it's about culture. It's about the whole sound of a people. So similarly, like our sound, like in a way, they're probably thinking, oh, you're hiding from the real you in a sense, even though you might not have any connection to it. I luckily do have connection to it, which is great for me because I actually I'm very South Asian in a way. Like I have a lot of, most of my friends are Indian. I have a lot of, I love Bollywood films. So I mean, that is natural to me, luckily for me. But if I wasn't, then I'll be quite offended. I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, why should I have a tabla in my song? You know what I mean? So, but that is, I think people want to put you into a box. Like they want to assume that in their brain, when you hear a song, you'll always try and compare it to something else you've heard. You always be like, oh, that sounds like Ed Sheeran, or that sounds like Rihanna, or whatever. So you always try and compartmentalize something into something that you know already. So if you see a brown guy singing, you're like, oh, it sounds like Jay Sean, or it sounds like, I don't know, Bollywood. So I think that is, that definitely is much more, it's more evolved in the US. Like we've come a lot further here. I think I honestly think an Indian person could do anything here, like pretty much. I mean, here being North America, sorry. Like just, there's no real stereotyping. I feel like everyone probably thinks Indians are doctors or lawyers, which is better than how we're perceived in the UK, where we're probably perceived as being like taxi drivers or whatever else. So, in America, I feel like there's definitely not the same barriers that there are in the UK, for whatever reason that is. And I feel like there's people like in massive mainstream, like Riz Ahmed was in Star Wars. He's in the next Marvel film, and he's just playing a dude. He's not playing an Indian guy. So look, times are changing. I think that there'll come a time when you'll see an Indian guy singing R&B and you won't even flinch. You'll be like, oh, exactly, okay, that's normal. So very cool. That'll happen.
Very cool. And you'll be part of that generation that's going to help change things. All right, Arjun, before I let you go, I can't let you go without you serenading us.
Oh my God, what? That wasn't part of the plan.
I know you got off a plane, but imagine, I sat beside you and I was like, oh, you're a singer? Convince me.
Okay, so this is the English part of Suit. So whatever you wear, babe, you can make the whole room stare. But you know that my favorite is when you're rocking that Desi swag. Ooh, your little black dress, it don't do it for me, you know how to impress. Just give it to me, no jeans, no dresses, no tees, no. My queen, she's in a sorry, yo. Keep it Desi, like you're in Delhi. You gotta rep the team, shawty. I know they're flexing, but it's me you should be checking, cause I wanna make you my Rani. That's Punjabi part.
There you go. How's that Punjabi? How's that Punjabi?
Suit. I can't do it. I can't do Punjabi, but
yeah. Thank you.
Yo, it's Arjun here. Hope you guys watched the interview and enjoyed it. Make sure you guys subscribe for more content and like the video. Let's go. Like me, wow.
Please don't be wasting my time with that business. Who you kidding, man? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, swear to God, I'm with it. I don't see nobody in my lane that's quite go get it like me. Whoa. Please don't be wasting my time with that business. Who you kidding, man? Yeah. Say it gon' put me all in the mad with all that mad game you been talking. Oh yeah, man, that's awesome.